Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it is live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. If you would like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Now, in a moment, I'm going to transition straight across to the Hangout as we are joined by Sleeping Warrior and Ranty. How are you both doing, gentlemen? Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Doing good, doing good. Carry on, my friend, carry on.
That's it, my intro is done. Very late start today.
Do you not need to go and share the show and do all the background stuff?
I've done it. I've already done it. It's all done. I'm ready to go.
We've had quite an important concession from Mr. Sparkane. We're going to have to mention this because this is like too cool not to mention. It's fundamentally what we should have been arguing with on the Steve show, but Rumpus kind of dominated it with a lot of whiff-waffle nonsense about stuff that was basically like conceded or discussed about ages ago. But essentially, I got sly cornered and I got him to concede that there was something that was in the evidenced in the floaty land stuff on the north of Isle of Man that A, needed to be explained, and B, in doing so, it was basically their argument that was the argument previously known as curvature, which is fantastic. So let me quickly get to my share screen. So share that one.
Come on, guys, you can do better than this. We've only got 6 dislikes at the moment and no likes. Come on, hit that dislike button. We know the trolls are in. You can do it.
What are you saying?
Get up
Hit
to
that
10
like
at least.
button. What are you talking about? Hit that like button.
Hit the dislike button. Go on.
You want sharing?
Yeah, please. Where's it gone?
It's called taking the piss, basically, because we haven't even started the show and you had 6 dislikes. It was
Right.
the way it is, I suppose, isn't it?
So in the actual video, Isle of Man appears to stop, and then we can see, just a little bit too far. We can see that the land bends back under itself, like as though it's floating. And then we see on the other side of this gap where the whole town of Ramsey appears to be missing. And obviously the argument on the baller side was that it was caused by the curvature of the Earth. We see the same effect. We see that there is something bending and like mirroring and creating some kind of reflection. And it appears to match here, an inversion of what we're seeing there, and it's the same here, and it's the same across. Now, the whole town of Ramsey is missing, and obviously the ballers say that that's caused by the curvature of the Earth. We've got different perceptions of what is the curvature of the Earth, because in our language, that little bit of refraction has been referred to by me as dirty air, as mirage, reflection, upside down, whatever this is. There is no science for it because obviously we don't live on a little ball. However, I managed to get Sly Sparkane in a thingy in a corner, and I need to show this because it's brilliant. He claims that I'm taking his words not literally. I'm taking his words in out of context, but as I'll show that I'm clearly not. I'm trying to get Sly to admit what is causing this floaty land, right? That's what I'm trying to get him to do. So Riley claims that the blank area, which I put at the base of the Isle of Man, and this is in his previous video. He showed in the previous video that he had this like band of like land that was missing, and I wanted him to like tell us why, because a ball earther doesn't depict the flat Earth the way that he did it in his video, and it was a hat tip, and it was a tip of the hat. But he claims that he was acknowledging the fact that the land is floating, and I said, well, there's no reason whatsoever to do that on the representation of a flat plane. You guys would assert that we should see it all. Now, I've never seen a ball, and I'm sure Nathan will agree with me, I've never seen a ball earther actually acknowledge that this land appears to be floating all the ball earthers say you should see it all when they're depicting what we should see on a flat plane. They've never once done this. So on this occasion, when Sly did this maneuver here, where he maneuvered this out, you see it now. He just wipes it out. Is it playing? You see it now. Zip. That is a key moment for me because he's acknowledging that there's something in the picture that we can see, and of course we see it, and there it is. There's a floaty land. So Sly's finally acknowledging it. So I'm trying to get him to explain to me what the actual science is. So, what is the current science to explain why the land appears to be floating? I know that you're not like the rumpus. You can be concise. What's going on, please? And then eventually, a bit of waffling down the line. I get him back on topic, and he answers. And look at what he says. He says, "How many times does it need to be answered?" Well, just once will do. In your video photos, first, the inferior mirage, which is where it's reflecting that which is on top of it, and it's reflecting underneath, which is what we see, is the little strip at the bottom that looks like sky. This appears as a reflection. The whole area above it is reflected, vertically inverted in that small horizontal section, the horizon bit. To include a portion of the sky above it, which is why it looks like you're seeing through it, the sky in the mirage is the same color as the sky itself. You guys claim that it is dirtier or whatever, which, and now this is the most important bit, from the observer would appear as an obstruction, not a reflection.
Hi, Owen.
Hey, Owen, how you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Epic hangout yesterday, by the way. So, continue.
So, this is the key point. This is the most important point. For the first time, he's right. Out. Go on. Sorry, stupid dog. Right. This is the first time he's acknowledging it, right? So he says, so the observer would appear as an obstruction, not a reflection, which is exactly what we're seeing. There is an obstruction there. We are not seeing something, and it doesn't look like it's a reflection. It looks like there's something obstructing the horizon, and it seems to be the sky. I agree completely with what he's put in here, but the most important thing is he's not saying it's the curvature of the Earth. That's the key thing. So where the town of Ramsey is missing on the left, and we see that this land appears to be reflecting the sky underneath it, the same thing's happening here, the exact same thing, and we know so because it's doing it on the other side where that nose cone bit was. So Sly, by being cornered, is now admitting to everybody that the cause of what we're actually seeing here is mirage. It is a reflecting mirage. It is an inferior mirage. It's below what we're looking at, and that's not curvature. So all this nonsense by the ballers that it is the curvature because Ramsey's gone behind the curve. No, but it creates a secondary problem. We know that the town of Ramsey is about 75 to 80 feet tall, really, really low. But we also know that this band of refraction is hiding it. So we know that it's about 75, 80, maybe as much as 90 feet tall. So whatever land is being pushed above from this slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena nonsense maths, it has to go at least 100 feet above this line so we can see it. That means that it's doubling the problem for the curvature refraction argument, because if it was only 100 feet, it would fall into that and it would be blocked by this mirage thing that Sly is finally acknowledging. That's a key point. That's a key admission. And it's the first time I've ever seen a baller actually do that. So thank you very much, Sly. You've effectively told us all that the cause of what we're seeing here is mirage. It isn't curvature of the Earth, like everybody said. So I hope everybody that says that it's curvature, I hope Sly says, well, actually, it is a bit of refraction or mirage stuff, and like upside down inferior mirage, because that is what we're seeing. And we've known that for months because we've seen it for months and we've been talking about it for months, but you guys have never once acknowledged it. So thanks, Sly. I'll take that one as a credit for us. So that was the first one. So that's me done for now. I'll have a break. Arwin, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm kind of in the middle of lunch.
Hey, No. How you doing? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, No? Can you hear us? Clearly not.
I guess that's a no.
Is he still in, or has he been kicked or what?
No, he's still here.
Got rid of him.
What have you got to say for yourself, Renty? Where were you yesterday?
What do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah, I wasn't too good. I came down with a migraine sometime around about 7:30. And by about 8:45, I was in bed, tucked up with some paracetamols and ibuprofen. Slept like a log whilst you guys displayed the 3D model of the flat Earth, which was pretty epic, actually.
Did you watch it? Did you watch?
Yeah, I watched it, yeah.
What did you think? I mean, you've seen it a million times, but yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I'm wondering how long it's going to take to map the whole world out, though.
Got to start somewhere.
That's true. Suppose we haven't got Google's budget, have we? So it could take a while.
Google and NASA, STS-99 is what created Google Earth.
Apparently, even though it gets updated every year. So should we tell people what we're going to do at the weekend?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Well, we're going to measure the 3 heights. We're going to measure the highest cliff, the middle cliff, and we're going to measure Miles's cliff. And it doesn't really matter what the values are anymore, because
if we've got time, we'll get to that very low priority hill that Miles did his observation from.
Well, it'll be happening, trust me. That guy's not going to look. He's not going to get away with that not being done, because he's just not. All 3 observations will then support themselves. We'll get the maths and the trig done for all 3. It's a great day. We're going to be measuring that or documenting what the high tide looks like. And what was the other thing we're going to be doing? Oh, getting drunk.
Hey guys, are you sure you
drink
the height right though?
Say again, Owen.
I was just trolling. I'm saying, like, are you sure you got the height, the observer height correct?
Well, we bought a 500-foot tape. We've got a 500-foot tape, so that should be long enough to throw it off that mountain.
And I asked, what's his face, the Rumpus, how he would like me to record it so that there is no arguments. And he wants me to use the tape and do a particular thing. And I'm not going to do it that way, because basically there's too much wiggle room for them to obfuscate out of it and just basically turn my 20-degree measurement into a 30-degree estimate and claim that it's credible. And that's completely nonsense. We've measured the hypotenuse. That can't change. And the only wiggle room that they've got, if we use a tape to try and measure the angle, is to obfuscate and just basically twist and distort the angle. So I'm not doing that anymore. What I'm going to do is take a really long spirit level with me, and we're going to measure the angle using the spirit level. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen because I want to show what Rumpus said, because Rumpus can be a bit of a Burke at times. So let me get this bit on here. Just share my screen if you would, sir. Oh, no way.
Done.
Bringing up his page now. Just bear with me 1 sec. Okay, so on this video, I think it's this one. There should be a comment in here from the Rumpus. And
hey, True Seeker, can you hear us? True Seeker, can you come off mute?
Yep. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Happy
Good
day.
to have you.
Hey.
I'll be really quick. Basically, no matter what I say, they're not going to accept it, okay? So what I've asked him is, can you tell me the method that you want me to do that's going to make it work for you so that you'll accept it without it being basically faked? And I've told him that I'm not going to do it with a tape. Measuring with a spirit level does not require any horizontal alignment. It requires a set angle to reflect the slope and then the bubble to sit in between the 2 lines. And that's all I'm planning on doing. I'm not planning on doing a tape angle again, because you won't accept it no matter what I do. So it won't be getting done with a tape.
Well, I got an idea. Maybe you could do it with a ball. And
With a
roll it up the hill and then measure how many
Can you
cycles.
say hello, flatmate? How you doing? Can you say hello?
Hey.
Hello? Can you say hello?
Flatmate.
Got to be quicker than that.
Right.
Yeah, that sounded like a 5-year-old.
Oh, did he speak?
somebody that
Oh,
was
I'm
there.
really sorry, flatmate. I didn't hear you speak. I'm really sorry.
It sounded like a child, though.
Oh, I didn't hear anything. Sorry.
Well, I was barely, but it was somebody that. It sounded like somebody that had lost their voice, or they just stuttered or something.
So I asked him, does he agree a spirit level is an acceptable method to measure? And then he says, how can a spirit level do that? Spirit levels only do horizontal and vertical, unless you have some very fancy spirit levels in which you can rotate the bubble while keeping the base at the angle of the slope. And I bet you aren't taking one of those. Well, guess again, Rumpus, because you would be wrong. Again, I am taking a very fancy spirit level in which I can rotate the bubble whilst keeping the base at the angle of the slope. That's exactly what I'm taking.
I'd hardly call that fancy.
Well, spirit levels only do horizontal and vertical, apparently.
No, they don't.
According
Hello,
to Rumpus, they
Jim
do.
Sanders. How you doing? Can you say hello? Say hello, Jim. Okay, don't say hello.
And then he talks about dangling a plumb bob and all these other things that allow them wiggle room to obfuscate stuff. No, we're going to take a spirit level. So he says you could use a spirit level, but you need some angle measuring device that you could get to rest on your spirit level. No, obviously Rumpus doesn't know how a spirit level works. A protractor would not be accurate, I agree. You would need a woodworking tool. No, Rumpus. I mean, what I'm going to do, I'm going to... Do you want to tell them? Do you want to tell Rumpus how a spirit level measures angles, Nath?
No. Just show him. Just turn your camera on.
I've not got it down. It's downstairs. Right, basically, Rumpus. It's a long spirit level. It's about 6 foot long. There's 3 bubbles on it. One that measures horizontal, one that measures vertical, and the third one has got a spinny thing. It sits in like a rotating circle, and around at the outside of it is a load of degree numbers. And there's a little point, a little like a measuring point, a triangle that it lines up to. And all you do is you put your spirit level on the angle, whatever the angle is, doesn't matter what angle it is. You put your angle on it, set your spirit level so that the bubble sits in between the lines. Then you know that that's your set level then. And then basically whatever number it points to is the angle that the hill's at. And there's no way that you can argue against it. And there are 2 holes either side of on the extreme lengths of the spirit level that I can feed some rope through. And I'm going to hold one end, the other end at the bottom end. And then that between the 2 people, all I'm going to do is take the weight of it off to take the sag out of the actual rope. And then basically the angle that then people hold that rope at is the angle of the hill. And there will be no way on God's earth you can obfuscate nonsense from what we're doing. So we're going to be measuring it with the spirit level because it's a fantastic fandangled one with a rotating thing in the middle. We're not going to be doing the other one, Rumpus, because you'll just dishonestly wreck it, which is exactly what you did last time. Oh, I don't agree with that vertical, so I'll just guess a horizontal that's like a 45-degree angle instead and call that science. No, that's not going to be happening. We're going to measure it the old-fashioned way. Straightforward, no nonsense, boosh, and you won't be able to argue it. Not without any level of honesty anyway. So that's how we're doing it.
Hey, has anyone thought of, deconstructing a gyroscope since they're a mechanical device?
Gyroscopes drift though, don't they?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a better analogy to force down their throats if they're denying what exists.
You're a bit quiet there, Truth. Are you out on the road?
Yes, of course.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I think the most accurate way is to use the spirit level. I actually thought that they would accept the measured angle based on the way I did it, but apparently it wasn't good enough because my vertical was too vertical and my horizontal needed to be changed so that he could put it nearer to 30. He called it what did he call it now? An adduced horizon or a perceived horizon, I think he called it. But basically, he was realigning my north or my vertical. Pink polenta.
Hello, Nathan. Hello, Anthony.
Hello, how you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Very good.
Buenos dias.
Hello, Randy.
Hello.
Buenos dias.
¿Qué tal?
Hola. Pink polenta.
That name's
You want to know how I came up to my name? My great grandmama, she made polenta, and when she make the flour, the two beetle crawling, and she crushed the beetle, which is red, and the red dye with the white flour made it pink.
It's lovely.
It's like that's a beetle red food dye made from the beetle.
That's a really nice story. So, have you got any views on the shape of the Earth?
What's your nan from Scotland?
I think there was another actor.
Really?
Clearly.
A bit of fun.
You think so?
Breaks up the show, I guess.
Was that person kicked or did they drop?
No, they dropped. I was just about to kick them.
Because it sounded very Scottish again. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, so the spirit levels are going to measure the angle. And basically, I am going to make it my #1 priority to get that measured point from where Miles claims that he was at 40 feet. I'm going to do that because I just want to discredit Miles and show that his 40 feet measured angle, measured height above actual water level was no more than 25.
Right,
So,
you'll be sat in a car with me for 2.5 hours telling you how low a priority that really is. So yeah,
I've got a big clump of socks and I've got some duct tape, and I'm going to stuff the socks in your mouth, and you're going to sit there like one of those pigs over a spit roast. If that's what it's going to be, because it's getting done.
Yeah, so long as it's not done first, I don't mind doing it. So long as the other stuff's out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
If we can get a wriggle on and get the Google quoted
We'll do it last.
32 elevation and Google quoted 52 feet elevation measured. To be perfectly honest, I know I should be more keen and I should be echoing your sentiments as I'm running a debate channel. However, for me, it's not as important in terms of what they actually think. You know, we've gone through this a million times in terms of the bulge, where it sits geometrically, what should and shouldn't be seen. You know, it's already game over for the ball. It's not modelable, if that's the word. You can't model it on a sphere, your observation. You can very easily model it on a flat plane. So now it's just a case of getting that flat plane model more accurate in terms of the actual measured elevation above water. So that's what we can do. I don't think we'll get the exact water level for your observation because it was at low tide when you took it. So ultimately speaking, we're not going to be running, you know, a couple of miles down a very, very, very shallow hill to the bottom of the tide with, you know, 30 or 40 runs of the tape measure. It's just ridiculous to do so. However, you know, for now, if we can get a high tide measurement, we can then extrapolate the rest of the tide based on the data we do have. And then going forward, you know, that's something that we will also try and get, i.e. better, more accurate ways of measuring the tide. But at least for this trip, my priorities, regardless of Anthony's sort of dispute with Miles, will be to get the actual measured elevation of the high point and the actual measured elevation of the lower or middle, if you like, point. That'll be my first priority, to water if possible.
Nath, do you have a ball of string?
Do I have a ball of string?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Ranty, have you got one?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it a long ball of string?
It's long enough, yeah.
Could you bring that with you? Because I want that as the
Yeah, sure.
the extension to the what's it called, the spirit level. Basically, that's what we're going to do. We can't change them. We don't need to use the tape measure for the purposes of measuring the angle. I'm going to feed the length of the twine through the spirit level to make the spirit level very long. One at the top, one at the bottom, holding both of it, and then just supporting the weight in the middle, and then pulling it straight so that you get a straight line. And then there's Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. You have the measurement. They have the measured angle, and it's precise. And they'll probably argue Coriolis effect or something like that was affecting it.
We'll also do with we'll do it with Dioptra as well, and GeoStreamer recommended Theodolite HD, which is an Apple equivalent, I believe. I haven't actually downloaded it. Remind me when we speak later, Anthony or Auntie, to download that app onto my iPhone, so I've got it with me. I don't want to be without it. But yeah, we'll get several different methods together before we leave, and we'll use all of them, and we'll present all of them, because all we're interested in is accuracy. Theodolite HD. Yeah, correct.
It's in the side chat anyway.
I'm presenting if you want to share my screen, Nathan. I have an interesting observation when I was at St. Bees.
Another one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look all that curve there, Ranty. That looks dead curved.
Right, am I ready to go?
Yeah,
Right, and
you're
basically,
presenting.
I'm filming from the lower part where we measured Miles Davis. So that grid part with the metal grid on top of it. This is where I'm
Just
actually
going to stop you
filming
for a
from.
second, Ranty. Just click hide on that thing at the top. It's so ugly. Thank you.
Okay, there you go, gone. And I noticed a boat on the horizon over here, and there was another boat to the side of it. And I decided to just see if I filmed it from here, would I be able to see it if I went down onto the sands too? Because the sands are very level and flat here. I mean, it must only be 10 feet or so high from the lower point of the sands. In any event, I'll play the video. I've actually identified this boat, and it's 28 miles away at this moment in time. Now, if you notice the boat itself, it's got like 4 really long prongs coming on the top. That'll help identify it. Can you see? It looks like a bit like a pirate boat.
It's just past the refraction zone.
Yep.
Right at the edge of it.
Just for the record, can I just tell everybody that I have just done a snipping tool of that horizon. I've run a straight edge over it, and it's straight as a pancake, even though it looks flat as a pancake, even though it did look curved.
Okay.
You have to show us in a minute.
What's really interesting is a little bit further on. I'll zoom back out, show you where I am, which is the bottom of the cliff. I'll just go back again and show you that where I am. So here I am on the grid at the bottom of Miles's hill. There's Miles's where he took his video at the top.
It was measured at 19 feet. Well, 20.
So I have a bit of a look around. Then I zoom in again on this boat. And then there's a really interesting observation. When I pan to the right, I see a second boat. And you see all the birds flying around it. I think it must have been a fishing boat. So you can tell that it wasn't a fishing boat, the first one. If you look here, this is the fishing boat. And when I play the video in a second, you'll see all the birds flying around it. You see them all diving in for the... Yeah, I don't know if you saw that there. So clearly that was a fishing boat. Anyway, I'm just going to pause that here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the boat. So this was the Sea Jack Scalia. Am I still presenting, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. So on the date, I asked Anthony what time it was, because he was with me, and he said it was 9:07 on the actual video. So I checked for the times on that day. At 9:10, funnily enough, the Sea Jack Scalia isn't anywhere to be seen. But at 9:20, it's actually there. And this is the Sea Jack Scalia. This is what it looks like. It has these 4 very long prongs going up and down on it. So there's no doubt that it was that boat. And when you look at the Sea Jack Scalia, where it was on that day, which was to the side of the Walney Phase 2 and the Ormond here, side of Walney Island. So what I've done is checked where it is on Google offshore.com for seaoffshore.com. Gone to Google Maps, placed it in, and the distance was 28 miles. According to Metabunk, if I put my view height where I was at the time of, say, 20 feet, distance 28 miles.
No, it's got to be at least 40 according to Miles.
Okay, well, refracted hidden, 278. But what I do later in the video, in the same video, is I decide to run down to the beach and see whether or not I can... Here's me walking down the beach, walking away from Anthony.
Dropping 20 feet, Miles.
Yeah, get down onto the sandy part. So now I'm on the flats. So I can be no more than maybe 10 feet above the water at this point. And I decide to see if I can see the boat again. And when I zoom in.
Oh, now it's well past the refraction zone.
28 miles away. Still visible, though.
What video? Where did you get the time reference from on this?
You spoke on it. I asked you the time. You told me that your phone had survived, and it was 9:07.
Oh, this is on the date at the time, right? So it's contemporaneous, unlike Miles's stuff, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and here you can see all the boat. You can see all the birds flying around this fishing boat.
Yep.
Yep. Can you see it? So that obviously that's a fishing boat, but the transponder for this isn't activated, so we couldn't identify what boat that was. But the Sea Jack Scallier obviously is, because it tends to the wind farms, and that's where it was headed to. And at 9:20, it moored up to the side of the wind farms, and there it is. You can see it with the 4 big prongs coming down on top of it.
That is a really, really cool observation. 28 miles away, a boat.
28 miles away. I'm actually on the sands right now.
It's completely miraged, totally blurred.
You don't even look like you're more than 3 feet above the ocean.
I'm not very high at all. There's me doing
a really, really cool observation. That.
Yeah, well, cool that you can actually see it.
I walk a little bit further and plonk it down again, and then I zoom in again. I think
it's not much of a curve in a way at this height, is there?
Certainly not. I mean, if I was to, I'll do the curve calcs in a minute and lower it to 10. Here's me looking for it, because I couldn't even see it with my eyes. It was that far away. And there we go. It's just pulling up to the side of the wind farms now, ready to moor up and do its work for the day. Happy days.
28 miles from the beach, just above the water level. Where's the curve? Why is that thing visible?
If I lower that to 10, looking at refracted hidden, 342. Without any refraction, 388, and the actual drop is 522. I thought it was a really good observation.
I agree. That's really powerful now that you know the boat and its distance.
Yeah.
What was the difference in the time between what I said on the video and what it was on the GPS thing?
The GPS was at 9:20. At 9:10, it didn't have a GPS. The transponder didn't flicker. I don't know how often it's supposed to flicker. But if I go to 9:10, for instance, and set the time and go, you'll see that Sea Jack Scallier disappears off the map completely. And at 9:20, there it is, to the side of the wind farms.
I think
we actually see it passing the wind farms as well. Sorry?
I think you pronounce its surname as Scylla. I think it's pronounced Scylla. Yeah.
Scylla, yeah.
Sea Jack Scylla.
It makes there's no other boats show up in the transponder details. I presume that's because it's a fishing boat, and maybe they can turn them on and off as and when. They're not by law supposed to have them on or something. I don't know. But at 9:19, that was when that made this.
That's a really good observation, that.
Well, I hope you're all enjoying the debate thus far. Coming up on about an hour and a half left on this live stream. If you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number 1, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. There is approximately 1.5 hours left on this live stream.
Ranty, you need to put that into a cool video.
Yeah, I think I will. It's just another thing that I mean, the North Sea, for whatever reason, just seems to throw them up one after the other. Doesn't matter what elevation you go down to, especially when we took images of that other boat.
Ranty, it's the Irish Sea.
All right, the Irish Sea. Is it? No, it's not.
Yeah, the North Sea's on the other side of the country.
Just before you get into debating which sea it is, I'd agree, Ranty. I'd love to see a video of you with those two observations in sort of one big fat rolled up together video, i.e. explaining how the circle of confusion works as you go down and up in elevations as you're looking at that boat that's about 7 or 8 miles away, and then this boat which is considerably further away. Hello, Pink Paletta, how are you doing?
Hello, I got kicked.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Oh, you're right. It wasn't. It isn't the North Sea.
I could not join on my original account.
Okay. So
How is your Scottish mother?
what was your view on the shape of the Earth, Pink?
What did you say, Anthony?
What was your
How
view on
is
the
your
shape of the
Scottish
Earth?
mother?
Scottish mother? I don't know what you mean. Why you say these things, Anthony? I like taco and burrito.
So what's your views on the shape of the Earth, Pink?
Oh, I flat earther.
Oh, you're losing your accent, so be careful with that.
Who's my... Wow, why you say these things, Owen?
Well, because you're acting like a weirdo, and you're.
I know
trying to-
acting. I
How
don't
come you have-
act.
how
Yeah,
come you have
you're a
two
flat
accounts?
earther.
I
you must
gave
be
acting
crazy,
a go
you're
one time. I
holding
was in
back.
commercial, but you know, it didn't go nowhere.
So what did you think of the Isle of Man model?
Oh, it was wonderful. Alaman, what a great model.
Excellent, thank you. I'll pass on your sentiments to Chris.
He seems to like it. He's come back for more. He's got a secondary account.
I think there's like this new gag going on where the ballers are now making acts of new flat earthers that are just crazy to try to, make us look crazy again. So if they can't make us act crazy, then they'll have to do it for us. That's basically their new tactic, I think.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong. But this is what we get. This is what we get challenging us these days.
Yeah. So yeah, there's all sorts of good stuff to be found in the Irish Sea. Anthony was correct. It isn't the North Sea. I don't know why I had that in my head.
You often call it an ocean as well, for some reason.
Well, it is part of an ocean.
It's not. It's the Irish Sea, man.
So yeah, oh yeah. So we're going to the top of the hill as well, the very highest point. We're going to the head part. What's it called?
St. Bede's Head.
St. Bede's Head. And we're going to go and try and see whether or not we can look over to Ireland from there, because when we saw that observation that was taken from Llandudno at Wales, that seems to support that, on a good day that you can maybe see that sort of distance. So with a bit of good fortune tomorrow, if the weather's okay, we'll have a bash at trying to see if we can see Ireland or not. Because technically you shouldn't be able to. But if that image from Llandudno is accurate, which I have no doubt it is, and knowing that we live on a flat plane anyway, we just need some good weather, and hopefully we can see it. Oh, someone's getting a phone call.
Someone read out Darren Watson's comment, please.
Who? Darren Watson. Guys, I'm being serious here. I think the Earth has hundreds of sides. That's why you can see Isle of Man, as this part of the Earth is flat.
Yeah, maybe
Like a golf ball.
A dice of some type. Maybe it's like a D20, and this is just a triangle. Nah, I think it's all flat.
I could see how it could work if you lived on a golf ball, because it would be flat edges for the most part, but combined they would still make a sphere.
No, but still, the physics of it with the water and everything, it can't work. It like gravity or this immeasurable force that just persists in this world would not make any more physical sense. But hey, if you consider space non-linearity that I talk about, then perhaps how the Earth is interconnected is like a ball or some other type of shape, that it's all physically flat, but the way it interconnects with itself could be perhaps a ball. In that sense, yeah, the Earth could be flat and a ball at the same time. It's just not a literal ball.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just flat. But I think if you've got
but you don't know. We haven't found the edge yet. We haven't found a dome yet.
Don't need to find an edge or a dome to know it's flat. But
Yeah.
what I was going to say
No, but
is,
I'm saying it could literally be flat.
No, I agree with Arwin. It could be flat locally, but on the bigger picture, it could be. We could live in a dimple on a golf ball, and the edges.
No, that's not what I said. I said it would all be flat, absolutely 100% perfectly flat, but just the way the space would interconnect with itself, how the flat Earth interconnects with itself could be as a ball shape. That's what I was saying.
it's a contradiction in terms. How
Hello,
you doing,
Chris?
Chris? Can you hear us?
Nope, he's gone.
Well, what I was going to say is if it's a multi-sided, i.e. you've got lots of different polygons all interconnected in a kind of, you know, giant hexagon-y looking thing. I don't know what you'd call that sort of multi-polygon sided shape. I'm sure it has a word. But either way, if you had that and you still had the effects of what ballers call gravity, you'd have the water pulled in a flat plane on one surface. So let's say that all of Great Britain is on one of those sides. When you got to another one, you'd have an edge. You know, you'd have a very distinct localized edge that you'd have to traverse in a boat. You know, we don't have anything of the sort.
You're still literalizing a physical shape. That's what I was saying. It is just flat. Just the way the space is interconnected would be as a ball shape. So it would basically be projected as a ball. But it would all be perfectly flat. There would be no corners. There would be no curve at all. It would all be 100% flat. Because that is the only thing that makes any physical sense.
That is literally the situation we do have, though, Arwin. We have a situation where it is all flat, but it is projected as a ball. You know, but when it's projected as a ball, nothing makes sense. Hello again, Chris. Can you hear us?
No, it wouldn't make sense if you don't accept space non-linearity.
So I just wanted to ask you guys what this Chris Monk model's all about.
It's a flat plane representation of the photograph taken
but
by
does it have any predictive capability?
Sorry, I was just literally halfway through answering your question, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. On you go.
A flat plane representation of a photograph taken by Anthony Riley, or a video that was composited into a photograph from St. Bees.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Right. But does it have any predictive capability?
Yes, it does.
What can it predict?
Well, for example, Rumpus was challenged to give the angle to the height of Snaith Fell, and he failed to do so from the camera. He had to take an arc measurement from the horizon, whereas Chris could take a straight line angle and just give it in seconds. So you could predict how high things are. Oh, am I done answering your question? Am I, Chris? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
I'm sorry,
you.
mate. I just said curious. I'm sorry, man.
So to answer your question, absolutely, it has predictive capabilities.
All right. Can you give me an example of the predictive capabilities it has?
I literally just did exactly that. So, in the example on Steve's debate, Rumpus was asked to give an angle from the camera to the top of Snaefell Mountain. It took him approximately 20 minutes to roll out the maths. Chris can do it in about 5 seconds using the model. That would be a prediction made by the model. Do you understand that, Chris? Second time I've
not
tried
entirely. I mean, I'm not really sure what you're getting at.
I'll explain it again, Chris.
Do you understand what question?
No. I mean,
predictive
capability in terms of can Chris Monk's model predict?
Hello, don't boo me.
I'm not going to now.
I'm real.
So, yeah. Do you understand what the word
can
prediction
Chris
means?
Monk's model predict, say, I don't know, elevation, certain elevation, and then how much you would be able to see of the island from a 360 degree, from 360 degrees around the island? Is that possible?
Yeah.
So, as I explained at the beginning when you asked what the model was, it is a model of an observation taken by Anthony Riley from St. Bees. So
I know it's a model of the observation.
I hadn't quite
taken by
finished the
Anthony,
sentence again.
But, Anthony, thank you very much for that lovely comment you gave me the other day. That's all I'll say about it, but I really did appreciate that. basically what I'm saying is, right, yeah, I understand it, it's from Anthony's position. However, is it possible to predict, say, from the west side of the island rather than from the east side of the island? Say we were on Ireland, right, and you were looking east towards the Isle of Man. Could Chris Monk's model predict what you'd be able to see at any given elevation?
Yes, it would exactly.
Arwen,
Yeah.
okay, right, if you want to chime in on this, that's
3D
fine.
model. It's an
If you want to
emulation of
chime,
the real
right,
thing.
Darren, can you then?
Can I please talk now for
Sure.
a moment? Yeah, it's a 3D model. It's an accurate 3D model, and it is prediction in that sense because you could basically place a camera point on the whole thing somewhere, then look at something, then actually go there in the real physical world, look at the same direction, and you would see the same thing. That is what it is, a real 3D model representation of reality, including all the optical of reality. That is.
And you base that on what, Arwen?
On what I got to look at.
On what you got to look at, but you've not actually played with the model yourself, have you?
No, but
So
I trust in Chris Monk. He's a good guy, and you yourself. I trust him.
Arwen, I didn't say shush. I said I'm sure you do. Okay? No, I'm sure you do trust Chris Monk. I'm sure his abilities far exceed everyone else's. I'm sorry.
When it comes to 3D modeling, it does, yes.
That's super. So, yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is, Arwen, since you've not had an opportunity to play with the model yourself, on what basis can you say that you can, in fact, use it to predict any, whatever you can see of the island from any position around the entire Isle of Man?
Well, because he based the entire model on real mappings, and he got all the right. And if you then at one point take an observation and it works out exactly as in the real world, then I can safely assume that if you do it on other locations, it would work.
None of it matched, though, the real world. That's the problem. It didn't match, did it?
All right, Alex.
Try to stop talking through me as I'm answering. It would be nice.
No, but what I wanted to say is that it didn't match. That's why I came in. I mean, clearly last night you were all saying this matched. It matched. It didn't match. As he pulled the photo back through the model, you could see extra mountains popping up, and none of it matched. If it was to match, he could have placed that photo. It scaled. I like the way he scaled the photo as he pulled it back. That was clever. But he should have been able to pull that photo to the back of the entire island, and it should have matched. That would have been a match. Not bringing the photo halfway through the geometry of the model.
Can I address that?
No, that is how it would match.
He might have
basically
forgot a single element from it, and that is the blurring up as you go further away.
It's very clever what he's done. So he's taken a LiDAR. I don't know how they collect LiDAR.
It's not a lie.
Can you listen to what I'm saying? He said he collected LiDAR data, right? And he's used that as a bitmap to create the geometry, basically. It's black and white values. And they use the value of the black and the white to create an elevation in geometry. It's just a bitmap, basically. It's using 3D texturing all the time to texture things. Rather than build the actual geometry, you use like a black and white bitmap to create a texture. So that's what he's done. It's very clever, and I'm sure it's as depending on how accurate the LiDAR data is, whatever that is that he's used, then it's probably fairly accurate as a model. And if he's done that on a flat plane, then that's worked. But the problem I had is it didn't match. He had to pull the photo through the geometry. He was cutting certain mountain ranges off his own geometry and placing the photo. You showed it all last night. He was pulling the photo back and forward through the model. So it doesn't match. If it had matched, he would have been able to have the photo at the back of the model and everything would have matched.
He did.
But he didn't.
And it did.
And he was using trickery. And the other problem I had, Nathan,
can I address that, Alex, or not?
And I'll shut up.
Can I address your first problem before you move on to your second one? So you say it didn't match.
Okay.
Well, Chris is going to make the file available, and you can check it for yourself. And it absolutely matches. As he pulls the photo through the image, it changes the scale around the frame. So the aspect ratio is kept consistent as you move the photo in and out of the map. And obviously, if you pull the photo halfway through the image to Snaefell Mountain, the things around the image at that point don't match. It's only what's in frame. So whatever's in frame, that's matching.
I'm sorry.
Yes, so hang on,
it seems I'm not finished giving my explanation. It seems Chris has got something to add to my explanation. Have you got something to add, Chris?
Oh no, I was just asking what did you mean by something? What did you say about ratio?
Aspect ratio.
Look, basically, as he scales the photo back, it increases so that the ratio stays the same.
That's
I mean, I appreciate what he's done there.
Correct.
It does work.
Okay.
What you're looking for... Sorry, I'll just finish my explanation and then you can interrupt me as much as you like, Chris. So as he moves the picture in and out, all that stays in proportion is what's in centre of frame, i.e. what the camera was physically looking at that moment. You can't have something out of frame scale at the same time as something that's in frame. So as he swings the camera from left to right, whatever's in frame will stay in scale. If he swings the camera and he's left the picture where it was previously, he then has to move it back to whatever the camera is then pointing at. But to answer your question, in that demonstration, he did push the frame of the picture all the way to the back of the island and swing through. In that image, there is... I haven't quite finished, bear with me.
Chris,
there is one mountain that is missing. And I got him to identify it very specifically because that is the limitation of the camera on that day. It's something that proves the scale. So in other words, because that mountain is too far for the camera to see, it does not appear in the photograph as he scales back through the image. So there is
this is the problem I have, Nathan, though. That's the exact issue you've just demonstrated.
The camera can only see so far, Alex.
So as he's... Okay, Karen, sorry.
The camera
may I ask?
I'm nearly there. The camera can only see so far.
Sure.
So if the limits of his vision are 40 miles on every single axis, it means that if there is a mountain at 47 miles, it will not be seen by the camera. Simple.
And why won't it be seen by the camera?
Because the limitations of the camera are 40 to 42 miles. Therefore, in the same way he can't see past Douglas on the left, which is approximately 41 miles from his vantage point, he also can't see a mountain that's 47 miles further back in the island. Hence, it doesn't appear in the orthographic presentation. And I got him to specifically point that out during the demonstration. I would suggest you go and watch the demonstration again.
What does orthographic mean?
Look, it doesn't matter.
So what orthographic means, to answer Chris's question, hold on, Alex, I just want to address Chris's question. Just bear with me, Alex. I've dealt with your question, I just want to deal with Chris's. What orthographic view basically means is two-dimensional. So if you could go to Peak Finder and take a snapshot of any particular mountain range, it will give you a two-dimensional representation. That is known
orthographic.
That is known as an orthographic view. So by comparison, what Chris does when he scales the image is he has arced the composite around the swing of the camera, so it best represents exactly how the camera would move. And as you look through the image, you're looking at a three-dimensional representation. Hence, you can get the exact elevations of mountains that are obviously not right slap bang at the front of the image. They have depth. They're inside the island. So that's why you can do it and bring the photo through, cutting through various mountains at their particular points.
Cap, I just want to ask something.
No, can I?
Well, me, I'll give you.
Forget it, man. You don't know anything about what you're talking about, Chris. Can I?
Well, I want to ask a question.
You always want to ask a question, Chris. Is there any time I can ask a question as someone who's always on?
I've let you spoke for the last 5 minutes.
Have you? All right, forget it then.
All infighting.
I'd rather hear Alex.
Alex actually knows what he's talking about. I like Alex's questions, you know.
But that's because Alex knows what he's talking about in this area.
About stuff I understand. I don't talk about stuff I don't understand.
That's why I want to ask a question.
I do understand 3D modeling, okay, and rendering.
Sure.
So, whatever.
But the question I wanted to ask is, right, Nathan, obviously Chris Monk has just done the Isle of Man. Does he have any plans to model the entire flat Earth?
If you can provide him with an image, then I'm sure he would be willing to do that. In the same way as Anthony provided him with an image, and that's exactly what he did for Anthony.
Well, I mean, do we really need to provide images
No, you could just guess what would be in the lens of the camera, Chris. That would be just as sufficient. Just have a little guess what you might see and give that to Chris and he'll model it for you, stupid twat.
Oh, charming. But
Right,
what I'm
right.
getting
can
at,
I now, can I, look,
sure,
no one
there
cares
you go,
about this
Alex.
flat Earth. Look, dude, look, we're just talking about this issue, and I've still got another issue on top of that, but no, I'm never going to get to it. The issue
go,
is,
Alex,
Nathan,
go,
is that
you
you had to pull the, thank you, you had to pull the photograph like forward to get the things matching at the forwards. When you pulled the photograph right to the back, it didn't match. And I get what you're saying about the orthographic view and that he's lined it up in a curve so that as you tilt the camera, as you angle the camera left to right, you're looking at a flat image all the time, a flat representation, the way he's put around his composites. I completely agreed with that. That's the correct thing to do. Like that was fine. I mean, that's the only work he's actually put in. Let's be honest about this. You've been saying it's been going on for days. That's the only fairly tricky bit of anything he did, because everything else was just a bump map, yeah, that he's taken from LiDAR data. It's not difficult at all. But what I'd say is because that's kind of proving the fact that there should be a curve there, because you need to pull the photo through the island in order for it to match up. Because the reality is there's mountain ranges and stuff that you can't see, that you can see on his model, that you couldn't see on the photos, because you've distorted the shape. You've put something that's on a curve onto a flat surface.
I'll say it again, Alex. I'll say it one more time. Sorry, let me just repeat it for Alex,
and this is backed up. I'll shut up after this. This is the only things I wanted to come on and say. After that, who's typing, by the way? But anyway, whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. That was me.
We'll just mute up, please, man. Like,
I didn't know you could hear
Please
it.
mute.
Oh my God! Just look. After that, yeah. The other thing that doesn't match up is the fact that you were showing quite clearly that you could see the beach, and then when you overlaid the photo over it, the beach was missing. The water level rose up, and this is just another proof of why it doesn't work when you've modelled it on a flat plane. This is what I was trying to say to you the other night, Nathan, that once you put it on a flat plane, you'll notice that you can see the beach if you're elevated above the water. Doesn't matter how far away it is. If you zoom in, you will see the beach.
Alex, can I address some of those points? I've listened to what you've said. Can I address any of them, or are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. That was me.
I think everything that they've done is it's gone over their heads.
Okay, you go, Ranty.
It's gone way
no,
over.
Ranty. I do understand 3D modeling. I don't understand much, but I understand.
Yeah, I know. Alex does.
Okay?
He definitely
missed the
does.
whole point of the
Can somebody
presentation.
address the question?
Well,
say it
maybe
again
you've
just
missed
for
the point
Alex's
of what I'm
benefit.
saying as a counter, Ranty.
And I just don't want this point to get off. Hold on, can you all
through
just let
the map.
Alex's point actually
So
get through and get
talk
addressed
with-
before we all obfuscate his point? So we're doing the baller's trick and obfuscating Alex's question. So number one, Alex says that there's mountain ranges that don't match. I would disagree and say, number one, Chris has said that he will make this blend file available. So I will pass you his email information, or I'll pass use yours to his, etc., etc., and he will make it available to you. It's a very simple file. You can play with it to your heart's content. Essentially, by doing this and saying it is a working model, he's putting his reputation on the line, and he's extremely confident. So the first thing you said was the mountains don't match. This was specifically addressed in the presentation. There is one mountain that we have identified. If you can identify another one, great. You can tell us, and I will absolutely guarantee it'll be because it is beyond the limits of the camera on that day, i.e. it's down to the visibility. And as I said a second ago, if you can only see to 41 miles on the left or right edge of the island, you can only see 41 miles into the island in 3 dimensions. So if the island is beyond that, which the single mountain that did not appear was, it will not be seen by the camera purely down to visibility. That was your first point.
Yeah, but you could also,
second,
you could also make the argument that you can't see it, Nathan. I'll let you do the second one first, but you could also, the argument I'm making is the reason you can't see it is because it's gone behind the curve.
So, as I will say for a third time, Alex, you don't have to accept this, but just so you hear it a third time.
Yeah, but you understand there's 2 sides to that, right? And that's the
No,
side I'm
there
on,
isn't.
that it's gone
If
behind
your
the curve.
visibility
There is no curve,
is...
it's a refraction zone.
Okay, this was covered specifically in the demonstration. The limitations of the camera's visibility was covered specifically with the one mountain that didn't match. You're enjoying the Teletubbies?
May I ask some questions now, please?
I've got one more point to address, and then,
Absolutely.
you can.
Finish yet.
So the other point you made was that the beach isn't visible. Have you ever looked for or Googled searched the term circle of confusion?
It's what I feel like I'm in right now.
Simple question. How are you doing, Skeptic Eye? Can you hear us? Say hello.
Hello.
you say hello?
Hello.
Good to have you here.
Can I ask my questions now?
As soon as I've answered this last question, I will
Chris,
let you.
can we
I promise.
please finish? I mean,
I thought he had.
No.
There's a
Yes.
term.
If you listen,
circle,
you would know if we
there is
finished
a
or not.
term called the circle of confusion. It is about the angle that you view from. And Ranty has done a demonstration using a boat which shows the boat going in and out of view from the bottom up as you go up and down in elevation. Now this, to be perfectly honest, I've got to be honest with myself, I was hoping to cover this in the demonstration. We just didn't get to it. I forgot, Chris forgot. Doesn't matter. We will cover this exact subject using the Isle of Man model. We will cover the band of refraction, as it is called. Anthony calls it dirty air. You guys call it curvature. And this will get covered in detail in a separate demonstration. It's a shame it's not part of the same one, but that's just our memory and the excitement of putting the model out for the first time. That will
But
cover...
you realise it's one of the most important things you should be covering, right? I mean, this is what it cruxes down to for me.
It's always the one thing that's missing that is the most important thing for you guys.
Me, I know.
No, excuse me,
Yes, it
Arwin.
is.
How dare
Every time we prove something, it's not important. It's only the one thing that's missing that's important.
Arwin, what have I been saying since the beginning? What does Nathan take the piss out of me and Riley take the piss out of me constantly for asking? The beach. So don't say it's a new thing I'm going on about. This is what I've been saying from the very beginning.
Alex is not talking about a beach, a sandy beach necessarily. He's talking about the shoreline.
It does have a shoreline.
Whether it's a beach or a shoreline, it's
it does
irrelevant.
have a shoreline. You appreciate that there is a shoreline below Morgold Lighthouse. You can see a point where the sea meets the land.
Of course, yeah, a beach, a shoreline, it's you know, it's
So it
pretty
has
much
one.
the same thing. It
So
really
you
doesn't
see
matter.
my point though, Chris? It does have a shoreline. So you're saying, where's the shore? Do you want us to show you it in the photo right now? Because it does have one.
If you want, but I would like to ask my questions first, if I may.
Okay, I'm just on my last point, Nathan. You can say it, but the point is, when you overlaid your pictures, you clearly saw the line of water rise up on the picture and not on the model, and that is the whole point I've been making the whole time.
Sure. So I asked you at the beginning.
Now, if you want to make this refraction, that's what you've got to do now. You've got to make out that it's a band of refraction, making the water level appear to rise. That's your challenge.
Question to you,
It
Alex.
is important.
My question to you was: have you ever Google searched the term quote circle of confusion end quote?
No.
No,
never.
I suggest
I could do that.
Yeah, okay. That's great. So, Alex, I suggest you search for that term, do a little bit of research. It will get covered in a future demonstration. Was there any other points?
You the definition?
Chris, I'm more keen to hear from Alex than anybody else on the panel because he is the only person here with expertise in this subject. Have you got anything else to ask, Alex? Chris, you seem to be incapable of shutting your mouth. You are less important than Alex. Your opinion to me right now is less than unimportant. It's just so beyond unimportant, it's untrue. I only want to hear from Alex, who does have expertise in this area.
I don't deny that.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as expertise. It's just that I've done well, I do, I suppose. But yeah, no, that's it. That's it, basically, Nathan. Those are the 2 points I want to make. Is that you do need to explain this refraction because, as far as I've seen, I've never seen a boat cross over the horizon and look like it's been distorted or reflected up. So for me, that's something I've never seen in real life. Now, if you can start proving that, then maybe I'll take your claim. I will take your claim seriously if you can show me this happening. So. But, you do need to show that. It's very, very important, in my opinion, because all the models showed me yesterday was exactly what I expected to see from the model. It was that's why I actually quite enjoyed the show yesterday. I was like, this is exactly what I thought I'd see on a flat plane. I can see the bottom, I can see the beach or whatever, the shoreline, whatever you want to call it, But and when you overlaid the model trying to match up the height of the mountain, you saw that the water level rose on the picture and not on the flat model to cover the beach. And yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. I'm looking forward to you demonstrating.
Now, may I ask my questions, please?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Right, thank you. Now, Nathan, as I was asking earlier, about the Isle of Man model that Chris has made, and I was is he going to model the rest of, let's start small and we'll go with just the UK, or just the US. And you said
Hello.
that it would. Hello.
Sorry, just checking. Don't kick me.
No worries. And you said, well, you need pictures. Do you mean that I would have to present pictures of, say, the entire UK for Chris to model it? Because from what I understand, Chris has modelled the Isle of Man using LiDAR data. Therefore, he should be able to model the entire Earth using LiDAR data. Now, I'm not asking him to model the entire thing overnight, obviously, but, you know, it would be great if he could model, you know, a large portion of it, perhaps the entire Asia-Pacific region, for example. I say that because of the Himawari 8, and Himawari 8 obviously shows all the, you know, all the land masses and the oceans. And if he could do that and make a single planetary or planetary or astronomical prediction, then his model would hold water. I would like to also mention that. I'll let you address that. I'll let you address that.
Is that going to get a pause for me to actually address it or not?
Of course.
No, I want to know why he snipes everybody out. I want to know his reasons.
It's no problem. I'm just going to add our window.
Who's this? Who's this, Ranty?
Hold that thought. Hold that
Ranty,
thought.
yeah. I want to know why he snipes everybody out. You piece of shit.
Oh, I don't know. I certainly don't snipe anyone.
Right. So, in terms of just using LiDAR maps, we have to reference... Okay, I got about 5 seconds out before Chris interrupted me. So, in regards to...
I just said yep.
Right, I'll try one last time. So in terms of using LiDAR maps, what we are actually doing is cross-referencing reality, i.e. what we can see with our own eyes through a camera lens. That's very different to just boshing together a load of LiDAR data, because we're referencing that what we see matches. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Right, so in answer to your question, can I just imagine and tell Chris to just go and imagine the data? No, you have to have an actual physical photograph to cross-reference reality.
But Nathan, Chris Monk did not have a photograph of the entirety of Isle of Man. And Arwen suggested that if you were, say, on the west side of Isle of Man, looking at Chris Monk's model, towards the east, then you could in fact predict what you would see from a given elevation, which implies that the LiDAR data is sufficient to make predictions.
Right, so we're not testing LiDAR data, we're testing reality using a photograph.
I'm not saying that you're testing LiDAR data. I am saying that Chris Monk used LiDAR data to get the Isle of Man topography.
Correct.
Which it was the basis of his Isle of Man model.
Yes,
now,
cross-referencing it with reality.
Please, may I? If he can do that...
Yeah, you've already said all this. If he can do that and blah, 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 Himawara, I was listening. I didn't interrupt you. You don't have to repeat yourself. I'm not deaf.
I'm sorry. All right.
You don't have to repeat yourself, Chris. I heard.
See, when I say yep,
I'm not
when
deaf.
You're speaking, I say yep. That's me agreeing with you. I'm not interrupting. So, now that Chris Monk used the LiDAR data, right? So, there's absolutely no reason.
Yeah, Sniper joined and got rid of Chris. I don't blame him. Priceless.
Brilliant.
No, I was just muted. Chris Monk can get LiDAR data from other places and use the topography from
You've
LiDAR
just said all
data
this.
to map.
Did you not hear me talk about cross-referencing
places.
it with reality? Did you not hear me say that? Are you deaf?
Yes, he is.
No, I'm not deaf, Nathan.
Right. What part of he needs to cross-reference it with reality don't you understand?
I don't really know what that means. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, you're a baller, so cross-referencing stuff with reality is not something that ballers are very interested in. I understand that, Chris. You don't know how to cross-reference reality because you're a baller.
Well, all you really need to do is, if you require photographs, you know, you could probably find many photographs of the coastlines of various countries, continents, whatever the fuck. Oh, sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to swear. I'm really sorry. You can cross. You can do that if you want. You know, you do not.
Him, Nathan.
Someone doesn't have to go out and take photographs of the entire coastline of, say, the east coast of America.
Nobody has to do anything.
Because that's what you're implying.
Is that your point?
You're
that nobody has to go out and take
Chris
photographs
Monk,
and do this?
May I finish
your
my
crap
point?
That
You're
nobody has to
implying
do
that
this?
Chris Monk, in order to model the entire North American continent.
I've already heard this. You're now going to repeat it again. The audience has heard it. I've heard it. Have you got any other points, Chris, or are you just going to repeat yourself?
I'm not repeating myself, Nathan.
Yeah, you are.
I am making a point that you are trying to avoid and trying to skirt.
No, I haven't
the issue
avoided
here.
it. I've addressed it directly, and you've told me that you don't understand how to cross-reference reality.
And how do you suggest we cross-reference reality?
Take a picture, you stupid idiot.
Take a picture, exactly. That's what you're saying. So
and you're saying we don't have to take pictures. You are quite literally an idiot.
May I respond? You are therefore implying that in order for Chris Monk to cross-reference reality using LiDAR data, then you in fact have to take pictures of the entire coastline of every single continent on the planet. That is manifestly
Chris, you don't
absurd.
have to roll on.
He's an idiot.
We can do it one bit at a time.
Okay, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
You are.
You're the guy that
literally,
thinks that you can see Saturn
with
and
time,
Jupiter
Chris.
for 6 months of the year.
Hopefully, Chris,
can I,
people will take more photos and add to the model. Yes, that's what we hope for.
Yeah.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Sure, go ahead, Nick. Good to have you.
What do we mean by cross-reference with reality? If it's a model that works, it doesn't need to be cross-referenced.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So we should just accept the reality that we're presented with by that standard, Neg. Just shove it in front of my eyes and I'll accept it.
No, you're claiming that it's a model that works, which means it doesn't need to be compared with a cross-reference. Cross-reference, what do you mean by cross-reference? Does that mean change or alter?
Neg, are you seriously asking me what the word cross-reference means?
Yes, can you define it in this context? What do you mean by taking a photo and a model? It sounds like you're saying the model is not correct and a photo would correct it?
No, that's not what I'm saying, Neg. I think you're being pathetic in terms of your line of questioning, if I'm brutally honest with you.
We're going to need you to clarify what
cross-referencing means when we've spent literally about, 70 debates doing precisely that? If you're telling me you don't understand what cross-referencing is, then you're either stupid or just, I don't know what you're doing. Why are you asking me this question?
So Nathan, it would take you exactly 15 seconds to explain it. It would be less than the amount of time it's taking you to tell me that I'm stupid.
I've just literally told you that we've spent the last 60 debates doing it.
No, you didn't literally tell me.
Yes, I did.
You need to tell me what you mean by cross-reference.
Yeah, we've spent 60 debates cross-referencing, looking at one thing and then cross-referencing it with another thing. That's what cross-referencing is.
Hello? Oh, it's Dawn. Sorry.
Cross-reference, you don't define something with its own word.
They're not stupid.
Yeah, Neg's just being an asshole.
Stupid.
I mean,
no, you tell me. You said you have a model that works, right? If the model works, it's on its own, right?
He's cross-referencing the model with the photos they've taken. I don't actually see the issue here. I mean, that is what you should do, right?
It's quite literally the most stupid thing I've ever heard Neg say. I had quite a lot of respect for Neg, and hearing this come from him makes me lose a little bit of respect for you, if I'm honest, Neg.
Oh, I love Neg.
Perhaps I don't understand what it is you were trying to get at.
Stupid ballers.
Well, I mean, I'd like to address Alex.
What he's doing, Neg, what he's doing is they've
what are you actually bringing to this
and they've made it on a 2D plane rather than on a curve. So they've just taken the LiDAR data and created the geometry on 2D on a 2D plane. Now, then what they're trying to do is reference the pictures they've taken with that.
It's a textbook.
Am I talking over something? So they're trying to take that model, and they are trying to compare that with the pictures they've taken, so that if they match, then that says, well, we've modelled this on a flat plane, and it matches what we've taken in photos. That's what they're saying, which is a totally correct thing to do.
It just doesn't matter. Ranty. My line is timed down.
Sort of like when Chris yesterday told everybody that objects, or rather the horizon, rises to eye level. Is that when in reality it doesn't?
Well, yeah, but that kind of is my issue, is that it doesn't match, right? So the point is they're saying, well, this is missing, but it's the limitations of the camera, where I would say, well, no, it's because the Earth's curving and you're missing the mountain at that point. And then there's things like the beach, where they're saying, well, it's dirty air, and you know, whatever the reflection. But I would say, no, it's curvature that's causing the bottom half of the island to be cut off in the picture and not in the 2D model. So the cross-referencing,
that's a refraction.
I was with Nathan the whole time. I was like, I'm so glad they're making this model and doing that, because this is going to prove the point I've been trying to make about the beach the whole time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
May I? Sorry. I'd just like to say, the Isle of Man is roughly from the northern tip to the southern tip, about 30 miles. Now, the curvature over that area on so-called globe Earth, or globe model, is less than half a degree. It's about 27 arc minutes. It is, as Riley likes to say, negligible. So basically, Chris Monk's flat Isle of Man, you know, you wouldn't even notice the difference between the curvature and a slightly curved, you know, surface that he's placed it on by less than 28 arc minutes.
What's your point?
As opposed to completely flat.
What's your point?
My point is that Chris Monk's so-called flat model of Isle of Man is basically indistinguishable from any other normal Isle of Man so-called model.
Other than
and a model has predicted
sorry, Chris, can I just
Chris Monk's can't
so
predict
other than
the time
when he
of
modelled
day,
it on a sphere?
It's not a model.
Other than when he modelled it on a sphere? Do you mean other than that model?
Well, the spherical model is what we see in reality.
Sorry, say that again, Neg.
I said what he modeled on that sphere last night, aside from the scale and all of his silly arguments,
he didn't model it on a sphere last night.
Scale.
He didn't model it on a sphere last night, Neg. He modelled it on a flat plane.
Well, no, I must have saw the portion where he modeled it.
Oh, yeah, you're thinking of that. There was a different portion where you were talking about the wind farms, wasn't it? And you did the sphere thing. That's what Neg's
totally
talking
different
about.
show.
Yeah. So he made several claims that were blatant lies. Hey, this is what we should see based on this model, and it is what we see. But forgive me, I'm not really up to date with all the.
No, you're right on that, 100%. Because I followed this last one quite closely. Yeah, that you're talking. He's talking about when you were doing the wind farm thing.
So, Neg, you know the lighthouse that's there, Morgord Lighthouse? Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a lighthouse. Oh, right, you really are up to date with this. There's a lighthouse there. Check it out. It shouldn't be there on a sphere. It's about 600 feet below your feet, and there's a 170-foot bulge in the way.
Is he stoned or is he a Mong?
This is Neg. He's a very smart guy.
Why is he acting like a Mong then?
He's just acting dumb. I don't know why. It's not like Neg.
No, well, see, Chris said several things last night, like you know, the horizon rises to eye level, and you guys all clapped him on the back and agreed with him, but it's blatantly false.
So
he said things should lean backwards like skyscrapers.
This is the debate in hand. You seem to be talking about the horizon rising to eye level. Well, we've taken a ground level observation of something, Neg. You understand that? You don't seem to know anything about it. Amazing.
I'm sorry. You'll need to say that again, please.
So, we were on the subject of a ground level observation that's been turned into a model, and now you're talking about the horizon rising to eye level.
No. I'm talking about him making statements that are blatantly false. And
he's not here. He's not here. You appreciate that, right?
I'm sorry?
He's not here.
Okay.
Yeah, but the statement's still false, Nathan.
Yeah, the problem was that you were okay with it. And that sort of calls into question everything else that Chris has done and everything else that you're supporting.
The thing is that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level, unless you want to talk about dirty air and things, you know. But it observably doesn't rise to eye level if you test it.
Does that make sense?
So you look through the Earth, is that what you're saying? To see the Isle of Man. When you're looking at the lighthouse, you're looking through the Earth.
But then Meg's just saying that he... Sorry, Meg.
No, yeah, I'm just saying that the horizon itself, like the literal horizon, is 0.04 degrees below eye level, where on a flat Earth it should not be. And this is easily measured, but for some reason, you guys just won't do it.
Is it easily? Have you done it yourself?
I have not, no. Well, no, I've done it from an airplane.
Well, when you do something of your own, you're quite welcome to present it.
I've done it from an airplane. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah. Have you got to present something? Have you got a video ready to go? No.
It's a well-known fact, Ranty. I mean, it's on you to disprove that because lots of people can do that and confirm
You've brought a claim to the table.
Well, why don't you go and film the horizon and show that
You've just brought a claim to the table. Let's see it.
Well, no. I mean,
if you're going to rely on other people to do the work for you, I haven't got time to talk to people about you. I do my own research. If you're coming here to tell me there's 0.4 degree of angle, I ask you to prove it.
Video proving it.
Prove it.
Ranty, this
is gravity. Prove gravity. It's like trying to prove gravity. You prove gravity. Go on.
This sort of thing, Ranty, is like it's like saying that the sky is not blue, or that Australia doesn't exist, or that penguins aren't birds.
Or that the Earth isn't round.
Or saying that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level.
Yeah, it's not up for it's measurably observable repeatedly.
Oh, so when you do it, it's perfectly okay, Nate. So you can just make these assertions without providing any evidence, and that's cool, right? You can do it. That's cool. Even though you're obfuscating the discussion that we've had. We've had this discussion, Neg. Sorry to interrupt you, Neg. Just bear with me. We've had this discussion now for about 60 shows. This was the point I made that you completely ignored. Yeah. So we've had about 60 shows on this exact subject. Now we've presented a model about it, and apparently you know nothing about this. So I want to ask you a specific question about where a lighthouse, now you're talking over me, where a lighthouse is in that model that you think you live on. So I want to know where that lighthouse is. Go and check it out. Do a bit of research, Neg. We've presented a model that absolutely destroys the globe. Specifically using... Are you still talking over me, Neg? You're very triggered. I understand. I'd be too. So there's a very specific lighthouse called Morgold Lighthouse, and it isn't there on the model you think you live on, but it is there on the model that Chris presented yesterday on a flat plane. This absolutely obliterates your notions of living on a sphere, regardless of what Chris thinks in terms of how insignificantly small the difference would be. There is a difference, and we've demonstrated it. So what I suggest you do, Neg, Neg, before you talk over me, is go and check out that lighthouse that isn't there on your sphere, and give me an explanation where everyone else has failed and you haven't been here to do it, and explain to me why we see a lighthouse that is physically not there on a sphere. You do that for me, Neg, please.
Okay. So Nathan, are you telling me that refraction does not exist at all?
So your explanation is already refraction, without even knowing what it is, or where it sits on the model, or anything about the debate. You're going to say it's refraction. So what you're saying is, refraction bends the lighthouse up into our view, correct?
Nathan, does refraction exist?
I'm asking you. Why the lighthouse is in our view when it is physically and geometrically not seen on your sphere model. I'm asking you that question, Neg. My model that you haven't seen, Neg, let's just shut you up. My model that you haven't seen has demonstrated that we have a direct line of sight in the same way surveyors take direct lines of sight. We have that demonstratable in our model. Your model does not demonstrate it, it fails. I'd like you to explain why your model completely fails. I'd like an explanation from you about that specific lighthouse. Not about the horizon, about the subject that we've talked about for about 60 shows. I'd like you, Neg, to give me your explanation for why it's not there on your model. Do I need to just
continue talking and saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over? Should I take your tact? The question you asked was how do I explain it?
You do.
You said it several times.
You do.
There's no reason to say it several more times. So my response is: does refraction exist?
Yes, and it bends light upwards.
It does exist. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Right. So the next question is: why is it that when I ask a question like why is it you guys continue to say that the horizon and things in the distance are all exactly where they should be?
You haven't answered my question.
You know, on a flat Earth. Why is it always measured to not be?
You haven't answered my question. You've asked us a question if refraction exists, and then moved on to something else. So I'd like to know specifically. I'd ask again. I'd like to know specifically why a lighthouse that is accounted for on a flat plane model with straight lines of sight is not physically there on your spherical model. That is what I would like to know. Not I would not like to be asked about refraction and whether or not it exists. I would like your specific explanation for why that lighthouse does not appear on your model.
So the refraction in the real world pulled it up, Nathan. I mean, because refraction doesn't exist. That's why he's asking you if refraction exists.
So
refraction doesn't bend light downwards; it bends it upwards.
So that's a follow-up question for Neg. Why is everyone talking? I'd love to talk to just Neg.
Come on, man.
Neg's the smartest person on this panel. I'd like to speak to Neg. So Neg, the light from the stuff that's blocked, i.e. the lighthouse, is bending around the curve of the Earth, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So does that mean that the light for the top of Snaefell Mountain is also bent in exactly the same way? Or do we have a direct line of sight? You're talking over me before I've got to the end of my question, Neg. You seem very annoyed by this, so I'll try and get my question out in full once. So, if the light is being bent around the curve of the Earth for the lighthouse, does that also mean that the light for the top of the tippy top of Snaefell Mountain is also being bent?
Why wouldn't it be?
I'm asking you if it is or if it is not in your model.
Well, off the cuff, without doing an in-depth examination, I'll say sure, why not?
So the light for the entire island is being bent from around the curve.
I mean, I hadn't even seen the photo. What I do have here is...
I'm asking a simple question. Is the light for the entire mountain being bent around the curve of the Earth? It's a fairly simplistic question. You don't seem to be able to give direct answers, Neg. I don't really understand what the problem is. Try to give a concise and simple answer to a very simple question. Is the light for all of the island being bent around the curve of the Earth?
Why couldn't it be? Why not? Sure, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Why can't it be?
So nothing that we see in that picture is actually physically where it is, correct?
Why not?
No, it's shifted.
What do you mean, why not? That's not a yes or no answer, Neg.
It's a yes, sure.
So nothing where we see in the image is physically where it actually is?
Why not?
No.
Why not? Because it's ludicrous.
Why is it ludicrous?
Because it's
you're telling me that refraction does not exist.
You're saying things we see in that picture are not physically where they are. Now, hold on. Let's just get an explanation from you. So, why is it then that it's not physically there in your model and you need arc calculations, and yet in a
I just answered the question. Refraction.
You're talking over me again, Neg. Why is it that in a flat plane model we take simple straight line measurements to these things, and yet in your model these things aren't really where you think they are at all? They're just refracted all over the place. No direct lines of sight.
Why is refraction a bad answer? Why is it a bad answer?
You seem to be continually asking me questions rather than answering mine.
Well, because if you remember, I came here with a specific question, and then it was entirely diverted.
It's a very good question as well.
No, it was answered, and then you kept asking the same question over and over
again. Why doesn't the horizon rise to eye level in reality?
What's that got to do with this lighthouse that doesn't appear on your model? My question is about a lighthouse that's been debated about and then presented in model format after about 60 shows. Your question obfuscates my question, so I'm just going to keep asking it until I get a concise answer in terms of the facts, which is that the lighthouse and the entire island aren't really there on your model. They aren't where they should be. They are being bent and refracted into a completely different location.
Yes, I agree with that.
What's wrong with that?
Well, why is it then that in our model we can take direct straight lines of sight like Rumpus does when measuring left and right, and you can't? Why is it that in your model they have to be optical,
and first of all, in your model,
representations rather than the actual things?
Tell you what, Nathan.
Why do we have to accept that those things aren't really where they are in your model, and they are exactly where they should be in ours?
Validate the reality of refraction.
The reality of refraction, as opposed to the reality of where things physically are.
When you see refraction in water and you see your leg get really big or whatever, or you put something in water, Nathan. Is that thing really big, or is it refraction?
And when I reach for my glass in air, do I ever reach for the glass and find that I don't actually manage to grab the glass because it's been refracted?
Well, no, but if you were looking at something through refraction, yeah, it wouldn't be where it was, would it? If you were looking at something
And what were we looking
refracted in a
through at the
glass of
Isle of
water,
Man? Did we have a
like,
big
say,
pair
a
of spectacles
straw,
on the
no,
front?
but you know, if you put a straw in a glass
What were we
of water,
looking
Nathan,
through, Alex?
and then you try to shoot that straw,
What
it wouldn't
were
be
we
in the
looking
place
through,
you're-
Alex?
Water.
So we were looking through at the Isle of Man. We were looking through it in water. Of course, that's why it's not where
Yeah,
we
we're
think it
looking
is.
through
Silly
the
me.
ocean, and that's
the
why it
point
looks all
stands, isn't
flat.
it? You have a much more extreme refraction because of the
Logic.
water. And if you put a straw in your glass and it refracted, and you try to shoot a BB through that,
No, I understand
that
that.
glass,
So
That's
the straw, you
in
mix it
water.
just
We're
one
looking
follow-up question
over
for Alex then.
water.
which is your whole point.
Alex,
Through the air.
I've got a question for you then. Why is it
Okay,
that when
yeah.
Rumpus measured left and right, he took straight line measurements? Why didn't he account for the
Because
refraction?
the refraction is going up and down, isn't it? It's to do with
So
things
the
being shifted up. So left
refraction
and right is
only
irrelevant.
applies when looking up and down. Wow, this amazing selective refraction. It's amazing.
Yeah, but that's to do with.
so-
I mean, I'm not an expert, but it's to do with the atmosphere, right?
Maybe
I mean,
Neg
that-
can
that
explain.
makes sense.
So, Neg, why is
The
it that
atmosphere
Rumpus...
thins out as
It's
it
all right,
goes up,
you said you
right?
don't understand, Alex, so you've had your bit. Rumpus
Well, maybe.
explained to us, Neg, that he was taking a straight line measurement when moving left and right. Does the Earth curve in all directions, Neg?
What do you mean a straight line measurement? You mean from?
Do you know what a
east
straight
to
line
west?
is? It's a bit like you not understanding other little simple terms that we've said today.
Yeah,
Do you
but
know
we
what a
went
straight
through this,
line
the
is,
curves
you
are
idiot?
different.
Do I have
We're
to
looking at
explain what a
maybe
straight
three-
line is to Neg?
Yeah, Nathan, we're looking
Well,
at
is
3
it
miles.
a straight
so
line
maybe
left and
looking
right?
at
Is
about-
it a straight line away
come
from you?
on.
Do you understand what straight line means?
Yes.
Well, is it straight relative to what? Is it
Neg,
perpendicular? Is it
Neg,
horizontal?
it is a
vertical?
straight
A straight
line.
line doesn't
Maybe
need to be
3
It's
relative
alright.
to
miles
Neg
anything.
is
It's
just
straight.
deliberately
50
acting like a
miles looking
retard
forward.
today. I don't
That's the
really
difference.
understand why suddenly his
He's
brains
gone
have left his
full
head
retard.
today.
He has gone full veto.
It's dementia. The more he gets to know,
So,
the more he
as
doesn't
I
want
said,
to know.
the
So he just
horizon
forgets.
is below eye level at all.
No, you're not going to
at all
obfuscate
times.
this question by moving on to the
no, no,
horizon.
if-
We still
I
haven't got
asked
a
the question
question
first.
answered from you. We haven't got these answers.
Nathan,
I'm trying to
I
get you
asked
to
the question
explain
first,
to the audience,
didn't I?
Neg, about
I
why...
believe I
No, you
did
haven't
ask that
answered my question, Neg, so I'll ask it again. When Rumpus did a measurement left and right of the image, he took a straight line measurement. I'm asking if the curve of the Earth applies in all directions or only when looking up and down. Does the curve apply left and right also?
So, Nathan. Now, I did I not come here with a specific question, right? Did I?
Does
I'm
the
pretty sure I
curve
did.
of the Earth
You wanna
apply
say
in
roll back
all
and
directions,
talk about
yes
that?
or no?
Or is
Nathan,
it?
can I answer your question? Because I answered the other night. It's really silly.
Neg's
You're
giggling because he
comparing-
knows I've got him on the
No, but-
ropes, Alex.
Yeah,
Does
but-
the
but
curve of the
Nathan-
Earth
yeah, but
apply
yeah,
in
okay,
all
but-
directions,
yeah, because
negator
you are asking a
XX?
lot of
Yes
random questions,
or
like-
no?
like-
Alex, stop talking over.
So we know I'm going to say that.
Alex,
Nathan,
if
is
you
that
do it again,
continue
I'm
that
going
you
to
just
kick you.
place,
Because I've
Alex.
got
That's the
Neg on the
thing.
ropes, and if you
You've,
obfuscate my
you're-
question
you're,
again, I'm going to kick you
What's
out.
the word? for
Neg,
it? You're filibustering the air, right? Because you know I do have a good answer, and you know it's been answered, and you also know that you have not answered the question I came here with, right?
No, you haven't answered.
let's
You
hear
keep
Neg's
asking
answer
more
to my
questions.
question in regards to, does the curvature of the Earth go in all directions, yes or no?
Does the curve? Yes, sure.
So why, when Rumpus takes an angle measurement and then draws a straight line when measuring this photograph, does he not incorporate refraction into those measurements?
When he takes a straight line measurement and then-
Nathan, looking left to right, yeah, on the horizon, you're looking in your photo, yeah, maybe 3 miles max on one photograph. You're fielding.
Oh, there you go.
So you're all on your own, Neg.
I don't know who Jim is. Jim.
I'm getting
Bitson.
continually muted while I ask Neg the question for about a fourth time. Why didn't Rumpus apply the refraction calcs when calculating a straight angle left and right of the image, Neg?
Are you saying that refraction should do something that it's not?
I don't know. My model didn't fail. Yours did. That's why I'm asking you about it.
Well, no, our model includes refraction. Nothing failed.
So
Do
why,
you-
if
I mean,
it
do you
includes
understand
refraction,
that
I'll
on a
ask it again, Neg. I'll ask it again because you still seem to be avoiding the question. So I'm going to ask it again. So, why, if your model includes refraction, is it not calculated for when looking left and right in the model? Why is that not accounted for by anybody ever? I would like an answer, Neg.
Nobody accounts for refraction. Who have you asked to find out if they account for refraction or not?
I'm asking you right now. I'll ask it again. When looking left and right in that image, why is it possible to take a per pixel measurement and give a straight line? Does the Earth not curve in all directions, Neg?
It does, yeah.
So why is he not accounting for that when calculating the left and right straight line when doing a per pixel measurement?
Well, what sort of calculations should be made?
Well, you've told me that your model accounts for refraction, my friend. You tell me my model didn't fail.
Well, see, on spherical Earth, refraction is going to be happening vertically, right? Up and down, bent up and over. It's not going to bend things left and right, or excuse me. It's not going to bend things left and right. Is that what you mean?
I don't know. It's not my failed model for the third time. You tell me why you can calculate straight lines left and right, but you have to account for curvature when looking up and down. You tell me why that has to be done or isn't done on your failed model. Don't mind this long period of silence while Neg sticks himself on mute and gathers his thoughts.
You think he's phoning a friend?
I don't know. Don't know what he's doing.
Probably getting fed from Discord.
Yeah, usually there's plenty of people around to obfuscate the point at this point, like Alex. That's why I kicked him out. So, you're on the ropes then, Neg. Gone silent, have you, my friend?
Yep.
You kicked Alex.
You need the question repeating for a 17th time, Neg. Still here. Let's just show the audience that Neg is definitely still with us on mute. Probably come back and claim he was interrupted by a phone call or some other horse shit while he comes up with an answer from someone who's feeding him in the background as we speak.
For anybody that noticed I was missing, I was getting a vehicle back. I'm good now. We're all friends.
Oh, have you just been doxxed?
Yeah.
What an idiot.
I get frequently doxed on this show, I don't care. I was doxed years ago.
Yeah, I've had, what's his face, Chris in chat saying that he's going to bring down your channel, apparently. Because he was kicked off the panel.
Now, Chris, let's not be mean to each other.
He's gone full psycho in chat, which is quite funny.
So that was Neg totally failing to answer the question. Completely failing. And when we had him absolutely on the ropes, he just decided to go on mute.
Devastating silence.
So apparently I've got to apologise to Chris. Otherwise he's going to get people he knows to destroy this channel. Ooh.
Yeah, I'd feel the same way. I'd feel exactly the same way.
Can I just say, Chris, that Ranty doesn't have to apologise for sniping anybody because there are no rules on sniping. It might be unacceptable socially and ethically, but practically there's nothing anybody can do about it. We all know that, and it seems to be accepted. So he doesn't have to apologise. If you don't like it, man up.
Yeah, it's reached a point where there's just continual snipers coming in. As soon as you get someone like Negator X on the ropes, about 20 trolls join. I'm being constantly muted. You've got Cat Earth talking over the top of me, trying to obfuscate the point. It's just horseshit, man. These guys, they work as a team, clearly. But yeah, I enjoyed that immensely.
So has Neg disappeared now? Has he gone?
Well, I was constantly getting bombarded, so for the now I've just minimised the hangout because I can't be arsed dealing with it. You know, if you're constantly going to mute me and snipe me, I just think, sod you, for the last half an hour we'll just have a chat amongst ourselves. You know, I don't care.
Well, here's the thing, you see. I brought some brilliant flat earth proof to the table today. 28 miles, boat on the horizon. And what was the observation height? About 10 feet?
40 feet at least, miles? 40, Ranty. You're lying, Ranty. 40 feet.
You sure about that?
Let's
you're lying,
roll the ball
Ranty.
back up the hill.
Hey, you're not Miles Davis.
You're lying, Ranty.
Come on,
maybe
roll that ball back up the hill. Come on.
I can play it again if you like.
What,
the,
roll again.
A lot, mate.
The video with the boats in.
The video with the boats in.
Yeah, let him play it.
Yeah,
let's ask the ballers to debunk it.
Yeah,
Hold on, just give me a second.
Hang on, before you do, Ranty, be clear with where you were, what the date was, what the time was. And if it means playing the part where I make the noise where I said the time, then so be it.
I don't need to go to those limits. I can do it in a video. I can do it in a.
Yeah, do it in a video.
I can do it in a video, so it's all good. Hide that. Share screens, and let's lower that down. Let me know when I'm sharing, Nath.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm sitting on Miles Davis's step. So that's the lower point of his hill. And here we have a boat, some 28 miles away. And if you want to know the name of it and where it was and how I identified it, you can look through the start of the debate, because I think it was after about 20 minutes I presented this. So all the information's there if you need it. But just look at that, guys. 28 miles away. And then a little bit further along, I walked down over the pebbles, down onto the sand.
That was at least 20 foot there, Ranty.
Was it? Do you reckon? My tripod's set around about 3 feet here. Pop it down on the sand. Trying to look for the boat because I can't even see it with my eyes. Just guessing roughly where it is. And you can see how wet the sand is still, so you know how low it is. And here we go. There it is again, 28 miles away. So how do you explain that? How does refraction bring that back? And how does refraction bring back this other boat that I'm going to show you in a second, which is a fishing boat to the right-hand side of it? You can actually see the birds flying around it, waiting for the trawler to bring its, here we are, waiting for it to bring its catch in. I suppose it's brought all the birds back as well, has it? Refraction, as well as the boats. What's the curve calcs on that, Anthony?
30 miles.
28 miles, 10 feet in elevation.
Sorry, distance in miles 28.
Yep.
Viewer height was what?
10 feet.
10 feet. Drop 520. Oh, right. Without slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena, the drop is 522 feet, and the hidden is 388. And if you want to argue that in favour of slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena, the refracted hidden is 324 feet. 300 feet.
That's quite a lot, because the boat itself is probably only
what? You need to finish these sentences. 300 feet what? Behind the curve of the earth? Below your feet? Behind the bulge? What?
Yeah. Was it behind the bulge, Anthony?
So it's 500 feet below your feet. You didn't give the bulge figure. The bulge is about 200 feet or something, right?
130 if you're not going to argue for holograms. If you're going to argue for holograms, it's...
The physical bulge of the Earth that should be obscuring your view is 130 feet high, and the boat is physically 600 feet below your feet on the other side of a curve, behind a wall 130 feet high. You shouldn't see it on a globe. It should not be there. It's only there because we have a direct line of sight to it, and the Earth is flat.
So there we go. They're welcome to try and debunk this.
You'll have to make the video and be really clear with your GPS coordinates and what size shoes you were wearing and what some bloke in Australia was doing at exactly the right time. And then they'll find some way to obfuscate nonsense. But if you know that boat, and it's quite unique and identifiable, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's got those. It's so identifiable with the four It's also not a fishing boat as well because it's got no birds flying around it like the other one did, the trawler. So you know that it's actually a proper vessel. And yeah, GPS identifies it with the 4 towers on it. It has 4 towers coming down it. We thought it looked like a pirate boat. Do you remember? In fact, you actually called it a pirate boat, if I remember rightly, when you was looking at it, because it just looks
like it does look like a pirate boat, yeah. So a question in chat says, did Ranty just validate that standing on the beach he's 10 foot above the water level? Blago, look how far out the water is compared to what Miles Davis was claiming.
Yeah, Miles Davis was right here.
Yeah.
And as I actually walked down, funnily enough, there's the actual
Alkay's mound
that we measured it to. There's the hill that Miles was on. And as I actually walk down the beach, you'll actually get a look back over these, and you'll see where, if I pause it, roughly where...
Definitely 20 feet there, Ranty. Miles was obviously at 40 feet.
You see, just from Anthony standing there, look at Anthony. You can scale him up the picture a couple of times and go, yeah, it's about 20 feet. You just got to look at it.
And I'm 6 foot.
This is where the tide comes to. This is where Miles Davis says the high tide was.
No, he wasn't. Ranty, that's not right. Ranty's tide... Miles' tide was higher than that, because there's that odd-shaped rock.
Okay, right, so there it is. So literally, it's just the height of this, which is probably about 2 feet, and then up that little slope, which is another 1 foot more. That's basically it.
Ranty, do us a favour.
Just down to here.
Just rewind that about 3 seconds. And then stop there. Just go a little bit further back. That'll do. Right. If Imric's in chat, there's the odd-shaped rock that we were talking about, Imric. And remember on your video when you pointed out this particular rock, and I said, no, the rock that you're looking for is probably above the word, whatever the word was. And there's the rock. That's how close that rock is to the big rocks. So, Imric, you were referencing a rock that was nowhere near the one that was evidenced in the picture from Miles, which is the reason why I told you to go with the one that Miles quoted, not the one that you want it to be.
Yeah, Neg's now saying, go over to Discord and we'll have a proper conversation. Well, Neg, I asked you a few times which way the curve of the Earth goes, and it goes in all directions, yet you don't actually account for that when scanning left and right and doing per pixel angle calculations using straight lines. You just went on mute. You can feel free to explain it in the chat, but you just went on mute and completely shut down. I even put the chat boxes up just to show that you were still in the call, just sat there on mute, having asked you the same question about at least six times. And you just couldn't give me an answer, other than to say on the horizontal we account for curvature, on the vertical we account for curvature and need to do arc calculations, but when looking left and right, curvature, you don't need to factor it, which is nonsense if you think you live on a sphere, on account of the fact that the sphere would be in every direction from your vantage point. Yet it doesn't get accounted for. You don't calculate for it. You only calculate it for things that are being obscured. Things on the vertical axis is the only time you make these calculations for curvature. Seems a bit odd. You'd think if this refraction was so prevalent as to bend things that are 600 feet below your feet up to the horizon, you'd think they'd have some effect as you looked left. But no, it doesn't seem to make any difference. You look left and everything's perfect. Straight lines everywhere.
Well, do you remember? Yeah, there's a good picture of me stood on that top of that mound.
With your red shoes?
In my red shoes, yeah, in red shoes. You got to be brave to wear red trainers. But anyway, that's how far. Miles reckons that what we're doing right now is 20 feet.
So is that the other thing is rock?
No, it's the one behind it. Just press play a little bit further. No, press play a bit more.
My wife's just got home, so I'm gonna round out in a couple of minutes, guys. As I start rounding out the points.
It is the one on the left. But Nathan, with regards to your lines bending off to the left and off to the right, that's basically like turning the grid lines on Google. Do you remember when we did that?
Yeah, exactly. On Google, it shows that stuff fans out. The curve applies in all directions. Yet Rumpus seems to be able to manage to calculate things using a per pixel measurement converted into an angle, and then he measures a straight line. No refraction accounted for whatsoever. Anyway, guys.
The earth is flat, boys and girls.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Arwin? Like I say, I'm going to round out about 10 minutes early just because my wife's got home. We've been started quite late this afternoon, rather.
Me? No. I was just very impressed yesterday and also, yeah, really drunk. Might have noticed by, like, the lack of breaks on my chatting. I went to D&D group and they gave me 6 extra beers as a birthday present. So I got a total of 9, which is way too much for me, really. But I took them all and had a great time. Like the extra bonus hangout was a blast. It was a total blast. It was awesome.
Oh, and can I also shout out the fact that we got the observation mentioned on the Isle of Man radio and on the Isle of Man radio website? Shout out to that presenter or whoever it was that did that.
Shout out to Del in chat. It looks like he's having a fight someone. I think he's challenged
Del?
Chris, and he might be having a fight with Neg or something, apparently.
Del? Fight? Nah.
What? He's always so peaceful.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's probably where I'll round it out. So with that, and hopefully with my actual sound on this time, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all. She knows, she just knows. I will see you all in the next video.